Yep, we're ready. Thank you, John. I'm Commissioner Christian Leinbach, and I want to welcome you to another Berks County Commissioners Weekly Update. The program today deals with CARES funding distribution. The CARES Act was passed back in the spring, and through that, counties and states have received funding dollars. We're not going to get into the details of the funding because today we want to highlight how the dollars that were present or given to Berks County have been spent and are being spent. We appreciate everyone joining us on the program today. We are live via Microsoft Teams and also through BCTV. We are also live via YouTube and Facebook. If you'd like to make a comment or question, number one, it must be germane to the topic today. Secondly, we need to have your first and last name, as well as the municipality where you reside. If you're from the media, just give us your name and the media you represent. Most of the program today is going to be led by Commissioner Kevin Barnhart. Commissioner Barnhart has been the lead on this effort. But before we turn the program over to Commissioner Barnhart and a number of guests, I'm going to make a few comments and then I will introduce my colleague, Commissioner Rivera, for some opening comments. Very quickly, I want to note that the CARES Act money has been an important help to businesses, to organizations here in Berks County, as it has been I'm sure, across the country. But I want to make something clear. While the commissioners may be front and center when we talk about CARES Act, there is no way that we would have been able to go through the process of applications and the review of those applications and the distribution without the great support of staff here in the county. Pam Schupp-Manette has been a key player in this, and I'm sure Commissioner Barnhart will talk about others that have been working. But we've also had a number of volunteers sitting on committees, reviewing applications. None of these applications got special favor or special treatment from any of the commissioners, and in fact, none of the applications came through the commissioners. They went through specified committees because we did not want this at any point to look political. We wanted it to be a process that was open, transparent, and above all, fair. And I'm convinced that that's exactly what has taken place. And I'm proud of the operation. I'm really glad that Commissioner Barnhart was willing to take on the CARES lead role, and he's done a great job in that leadership role. I want to take a moment now to turn the program over to my colleague, Commissioner Michael Rivera, for a few comments.
Yes, thank you, Commissioner Leinbach, and thank you to all the guests on the program here today. Thank you for taking some of your time to be on here and share your experiences throughout this COVID period and how has it affected your businesses and your organizations. I also want to thank the many people that worked on this program. I was working with the Small Business New Start program, and we're doing that in partnership with Community First Fund. So I want to thank Community First Fund for all of their help. It was many hours, many days, calls after calls, which in fact are still going on. We're going to hear a little bit shortly from Dan Betancourt, the president and CEO of Community First Fund. And we're going to talk a little bit about what was accomplished through the New Start grant program. And we're going to hear from some of the small business owners who were helped through the grant program as well. So again, thank you to everyone on this call. Thank you to those who helped make this possible. We're very excited to be able to come not to a conclusion, but sort of towards the end of this long period of dealing with the CARES Act money, making sure that the money was distributed and used properly, because although the county got the funding, we wanted to make sure that the money was used appropriately and was used in the best way possible for the benefit of all of the residents of Berks County. Thank you very much. And now next I will pass it on to Commissioner Kevin Barnhart.
Thank you, Commissioner Rivera and Commissioner Leinbach and everyone who has joined us. I want to thank my colleagues for the recognition, but it's not simply earned by me, not by a long shot. We've had great people here at our county, our purchasing department, our budget office, the Pam Schupps of the world, Jessica Blauser, my executive assistant, Ron Seaman, Jill from legal, and on and on and on. People that really helped behind the scenes to foster and improve this moving out of the CARES Act money. And we've been hunkered down here doing that. But it's great today to acknowledge the good things during difficult times. I know we're struggling with a lot of things with COVID, but I've also seen people adapt and evolve out of this. And many of the meetings we're in now, people have established a new way to do business, and knowing as we go into the future, some of these initiatives will continue on into the future. And I think really it all comes together as teamwork. This community has come together, teamwork, whether it's private, whether it's professional, education, municipalities. And I can jump to this rather quickly. Commissioner Leinbach mentioned that we had at least 25 volunteers who poured through these applications for us with the CARES grant program. Not a single person who got that phone call declined assisting. That's Hall of Fame kind of numbers. I think everyone felt an obligation and a duty to step forward. And I want to thank everyone, not by name today, but everyone who stepped forward and helped us to do that. It was a real dedication of time and resources, and I really think this came out extremely well. When I hear from other counties and other jurisdictions, we've done this relatively well because we have the community support. Thank you. And I'll turn us back to Commissioner Leinbach for introductions. You're muted.
Again,
Hey.
That's going to be the phrase of 2020. You're muted.
Carol Burnett. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, well. Anyhow. So what we're going to do, we have a number of items we want to cover. I'm just going to touch on them briefly so those tuning in know what's coming up. First item we're going to look at, I'm going to have Commissioner Barnhart talk about the dashboard that will go live shortly after this program ends. And then secondly, we'll have a discussion also led by Commissioner Barnhart about the Berks County CARES grant program, and he'll be looking at the 4 different areas. You'll be hearing from a number of folks from our community that have been involved in those. Then we'll be turning over to Commissioner Rivera. As he noted, he was very involved in leading the Berks County Small Business New Start Grant Program. You'll hear from some of our partners, Community First Fund, Greater Reading Chamber Alliance. We're actively involved in leading that program, along again with some volunteers from the community that you also hear from. So to kick us off on the program, and let me remind everyone, if you have a comment or a question, please feel free to post that either in Microsoft Teams Q&A, Facebook comments, or YouTube comments, and we must have your first name, last name, municipality where you're from, and it must be germane to the topic. So if you have a question on the elections, that's for another time, not for today, but anything to do with New Start, CARES Act, funding, etc., you're welcome to post those comments or questions. With that, we'll turn it over to Commissioner Barnhart, and he's going to give us an overview of the CARES funding dashboard.
Thank you, Commissioner Leinbach. I'm joined this afternoon with our Public Information Officer, Stephanie Weaver, who also was instrumental in getting us to today and all the other increments going forward with the CARES Act program. We want to show you what will be released after this meeting today is Berks County's funding dashboard. This will be available on our website. There'll be links to other websites as we go forward. But we really want to show you how this is very interactive. It's highly probable that people question where their hard-earned tax dollars, their government dollars go. And this dashboard will show people in updated time as money is moving out into the community where it's going. And there will also be some drop downs where you can get specific information as to exactly who received money and in what increment. So this is the first page of several indicating the $38 million that the county has received through U.S. Government CARES Act funding. And then we move into more of the graphic designs. We have under there the 7 primary focus areas: CARES grant, small business new start, food insecurity, contact tracing, critically important, public outreach, business support, and COVID county expenses. So this is what you'll see in the pie chart and the supporting data as you scroll through here. You may want to look at this tomorrow and maybe just click on it once a week to see how the money is being put to good use in our community. As again, $38 million in the far left-hand column so far awarded to date, $24,936,781, with a remainder which is allocated but not out the door yet, is about $13 million and change. Again, all of the $38 million and more were oversubscribed by at least $8 million. We had petitioned long and hard with the state to see about additional funding coming to Berks County, but what we have is $38 million, but we could have certainly used a lot more than that. As you can see in the pie chart, the $38 million is consumed in various components, as you can see by the various colors. And again, they will change as information is updated, as well as other checks are wire transferred. So we have those again depicted in various colors. Go ahead, that's sorry. And the primary focus areas, you'll see the Berks County CARES grant program. That is for, as we'll get into a little more detail, the public health, municipalities and authorities, not-for-profits, and educational institutions and services. Money allotted, total funded to date. And they will have some other graphics involved. We have a few more things we want to add to the dashboard before the week's over. So there's an example of that pie when it comes to grant money to those 4 subsets, what that money, how much money there is in those certain areas. As we move into the small business new start, which Michael and his team will talk about, our biggest allocation out the door is about $11,375,000. Again, there's a lot of finalization being done today in the next few days. That number is going to change drastically in the next week. As again, money funded out the door. Food insecurity, we have Jay on later on in the program, which will talk about food insecurity. This was the first one we went with. We knew that this was critical in concert with mortgages and rent and those sort of subsidies that came through the federal government to help people stay in their homes. This was right there with it, food insecurity. We know early on Jay raised the white flag and said they're bleeding money on additional food purchases and costs and trying to find food. We did our level best to put at least $3.5 million back into helping Harvest to help with probably a deficit of close to $6 million. So that this Board of Commissioners felt was like one of our #1 priorities. We then started early on in June. Actually, we started to fund this through the county taxpayer dollars, was contact tracing. That is a very, very pleasing number with respect to early on in the pandemic. We had seen some lower cases, but now we've gotten our largest 2 invoices in the last 2 weeks, as we all know, as the surge continues. But this is a very cost-effective way to do contact tracing, and I would say we probably have one of the best success rates that I have heard of, less than 30% refusal. And this is a key to this do your part, stop the spread is this other area of contact tracing to make sure we trace back who in fact potentially was impacted by someone who was COVID positive. Moving on to public outreach. This started early as well, probably very close to the time that contact tracing started, was to do your part. Well, do your part, stop the spread started probably in April. But the Let's Go Local, that is through the Tourism Bureau, and Rebuild Berks through the Greater Reading Chamber Alliance, to really keep people focused on their hard-earned money staying in our community, building rapport with our businesses, and quite honestly, keeping them sustained as we move forward. Money does well for them, but by the same token, needed the customers and they needed people to continue to support them as best they possibly could under these trying circumstances. So there again is the breakout through a pie chart. Let's Go Local campaign, the Do Your Part, Stop the Spread, as well as the Rebuild Berks, as you've seen many Facebook posts, Twitter, Instagram, and billboards throughout the last few months. Okay, and then there's business support, which we will get to in more detail with Commissioner Leinbach. This deals specifically with a lot to do with the Santander Arena. So we will move on from that one. Oh, there's also, I apologize, business support. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that there's also $1 million in that number for loan loss reserve for Community First Fund. They had projected that normally there's about a 2% loan loss annually. Given the pandemic circumstance, they're looking at loan losses in the more than $1 million. This board saw fit to help support that loss with $1 million out of CARES Act money. I'm sorry I skipped over that, but I want to go back and emphasize that. And then we have COVID county related expenses. Our number is much larger than that. Probably the real number is closer to 20 million. Starting out at the beginning of purchasing PPE and warehousing it for 60-day increments. Now we're looking at doing that well into the next 2 quarters of 2021, as well as being able to bring people back into work or back in to do county business with plexiglass, thermal screeners, touchless faucets, things that otherwise you wouldn't have thought about. But now with a situation like we're in, the county had extremely high expenses related to COVID. So when you look at the pie charts, you look at these graphs, all this money is allocated. It's just not all out the door yet, but it will be out the door about the next week or two, going to good use. So with that, again, this will be available soon after this meeting, but I would encourage you maybe to click on it tomorrow morning and kind of go through there and to check it periodically as we update the information. Just that quickly, you're on item number 2, which is Berks County CARES Grant Program. And as we did yesterday with our downtown improvement districts, we want to really hear about the success of these organizations and how they've been impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic and how they've surfed these treacherous waters and what they look for in the near term. So what we did is we selected one of each of the groups. We had in this category about 142 applications, and I think we successfully will be funding about 128 of the applications. So first up is under public health with the Alvarium Healthcare. We have with us today Justin Hyman, the interim president and CEO. Good afternoon. Is Justin with us? He was originally.
Justin is having some audio issues. He's going to be dialing in just a minute.
Okay.
So Commissioner Barnhart, while he's dialing in,
Yes.
I believe the link is up on the homepage of the county website for the dashboard.
The ladies were going to try to do that during the meeting, so I was kind of under promising, over delivering. So I want to make sure. Yeah. Hey, check it this afternoon or tomorrow, but it could be up while we're speaking, which is great. Should we move on to municipalities and authorities and just come back to Alvarium Healthcare? If everybody is okay with that? Okay, we have up next under municipalities and authorities, we have Muhlenberg Township Manager Brian Harris. Good afternoon, Brian.
Good afternoon, Commissioner Barnhart, and I would like to say thank you, Commissioners Leinbach and Commissioner Rivera, for making this process as seamless as possible. As we know in local government, many times these applications are not practical and can be cumbersome, but this was a really smooth process, and I'd like to thank all the staff there at the county. So Muhlenberg, we received nearly $38,000 in funding to respond to the COVID crisis, and most of that was building improvements made to our customer service area. Our township building is quite a large area, and our customer service area is where most of our interaction happens with our residents. We have 4 large bays, a tax collector bay, and then we also house State Senator Judy Schwank. So as you can imagine, we have a tremendous amount of foot traffic coming in and out of the building. As part of our application, we were able to install protective glass with the necessary voice portage and the paper portages to be able to conduct business in the usual manner. It was installed in all 4 of our bays, in our tax collector bay, and also in the senator's office. Additionally, the funding enabled us to implement a screening tool for our staff. We decided to use Health Check 360, which is an app that screens our employees each morning. We have a policy that we adopted. Our employees go on before they report to work, and based on the series of questions and their response, it will give them a report to work sign or a stop, please call HR. And it worked very well, and I think it made employees look at their individual health and things that we used to just dismiss as being a cold or a minor symptom. It makes them think twice now, and it's working very well. Quite frankly, we've had a variety of staff members test positive, and this app has helped slow that spread. Additionally, the funding was used for the necessary PPE and the sanitization services that we use throughout the crisis. I think, in a nutshell, I think most local governments are probably suffering from the same symptoms that we are here. We were trying to serve our residents, try to maintain that face-to-face interaction, but yet protect the residents and protect staff. And the improvements that the funding allowed us to make enables us to continue to do that. And that combined with, some hybrid scheduling and some staggering internally, our building has remained open to the public, in a modified manner, but all of our operations continue as normal. So that's what Muhlenberg, that's how we responded to the crisis. And I would imagine most of the other municipalities and authorities are probably doing similar stuff. So I would like to thank the commissioners and thank the staff at the county for allowing us to do that. And that's pretty much all I have to say in a nutshell. And at this point, I could turn it over to Pastor Mary Wolf if she's on the call.
Good afternoon.
Hi there.
Hi, it's really wonderful to be able to thank people to your faces, and especially I'd like to thank Pam Shoop for her really excellent help. I received a phone call from her the day I submitted the application, and she walked me through some things and asked some good questions, and we are really thrilled that we were able to receive $34,724. Actually, we were awarded that. We have not yet received it. But so what Cafe Esperanza is a pay what you can cafe, and what we had hoped to do was open on March 20th, the first day of spring. We had a big grand opening planned, but construction had ground to a halt a few weeks before, so the building was not even ready to open, and it simply wasn't a safe place to invite people in, knowing that in this neighborhood in Northwest Reading, we will have lots and lots of customers. hopefully lots and lots of customers from the neighborhood with varying abilities to pay. And also all of you, when you have time for lunch and you want to meet somewhere and you want a really great cup of coffee or a cappuccino or a latte, breakfast and lunch. And of course, it's a pay what you can basis. But since we could not open, we had already hired staff who were in the planning phase. We decided to completely change the way we were going to be operating. And instead of having inside service, we switched to all takeout. We set up tables outside in our parking lot. And to date, we have served over 8,000 takeout meals. The grant money that we received has kept the staff paid and has purchased food and takeout containers, which are really expensive. But the upside of that, the silver lining in this whole dilemma that we faced, is that we have become such a trusted and familiar partner in our neighborhood. And more and more people have learned who we are. We have people taking buses on. We serve food, currently dinners. We were doing every Tuesday and Thursday. We're currently serving dinners every Tuesday to about between 200 and 300 people each time we serve. As we transition into the indoor space, which we're finishing up now, and then we will begin serving breakfast and lunch as well 4 days a week, which should happen within the next few weeks. So thank you again for your support, which has enabled us to continue to serve this neighborhood and to feed this neighborhood. And I hope to see all of you there for lunch or breakfast someday soon. Thanks.
Thank you, Pastor Wolf. Do we want to go back to public health? Is Alverum Healthcare, is Justin with us today?
I am, thank you, and I apologize. I was having some
Sorry about
technical
the
difficulties in the beginning.
Go ahead.
So could everyone hear me now?
Yes, perfectly. Thank you.
All right, good. Well, thank you again. My name is Justin Hyman. I'm the interim CEO of Alverum Healthcare. So thank you again. We were awarded $150,000 in the grant, so that has helped tremendously. I'd like to thank everyone that was involved in awarding that to us. Just a little bit about Alverum Healthcare. We provide life-sustaining community-based resident supports for individuals with coexisting intellectual disabilities, behavioral health challenges, or complex medical conditions. We also operate a personal care home that we provide care for the elderly and care-dependent individuals with physical, behavioral health, and cognitive disabilities as well that need help with their daily living activities. All of our residential programs provide 24/7 care to the low-income, vulnerable individuals that otherwise would be in large, costly institutional settings like state centers and nursing homes. So, as I said, Alverum was established in 2018, and that was really to meet the need of individuals that have been in state centers for a majority of their lives. Now, there's several providers such as ours that are out there, but some of the individuals that were in the state center for a very long time have such complex medical needs that folks just are not willing to serve them in the community. So we wanted to create this organization to meet that niche and to serve this vulnerable population in the community, which we have been doing very well. Now fast forward to COVID, and it really has made an array of challenges for us. But throughout this pandemic, we will be able to ensure that the low-income, vulnerable individuals that depend on the 24/7 care remain safe and healthy. And we've done that. We've had several cases of COVID in our facilities between the healthcare workers and the residents that we serve, but fortunately, everyone has been able to make a full recovery. So that's a testament to our team, our executive staff, but mostly our frontline workers who continue to come into work day after day and provide this critical care. Our frontline workers are crucial to ensuring the most vulnerable residents and their health and safety. So we are so appreciated that we were awarded the Berks Cares Grant, which allows us to continue to provide that service and give incentive and hazard pay to our staff. Because without that, staff would just stop coming in. I mean, we are really struggling now with identifying staff because most folks don't want to work with individuals that have been exposed to COVID. So this really helped us out and was able to give incentives to keep people working for us. So I can't say how much I appreciate that enough, especially when we have so many homes that are in quarantine and isolation. The pandemic has been especially hard on our essential workers, and the residents count on them for their care. So we continue to face many challenges through this, especially with funding that is starting to dry up in several different facets of what we do. But this was huge. We will use it to make sure we award our heroes. So thank you so much.
You're most welcome, Justin, and thank you for giving us information on Alvarium. Thank you for being in the area and the service that you provide for us. Under the Education Institution and Services, we have Dr. Jill Hackman from the Executive Director of BCIU. Good afternoon, Doctor.
Good afternoon, Commissioner Barnhart, and thank you so much for having me. Commissioner Leinbach, Commissioner Rivera, thank you as well for your continued support. It's truly an honor to be here to extend our thanks and appreciation to all three of you and really the community for this Berks County Cares grant program for our education sector. Just came at such a critical time in a juncture as we were navigating this pandemic. But I want to start my comments off by saying the health and safety of the 70,000 plus students remains our top priority. Pre-pandemic, during the pandemic, post-pandemic, the health and safety of our 70,000 plus students continues to be our top priority, and the 5,000 plus staff members and teachers that we work with across the county. And on behalf of the 18 superintendents, our 2 CTC directors, and myself, we want to say thank you for this CARES grant program. We really focused in on 2 categories as we were thinking of the education sector. And those 2 categories centered around protective measures and teaching and learning. So when we were putting together grant applications across Berks County through education programs, we were looking at the teaching and learning and the protective measures. And I can give you a couple examples that we used through this process. In regards to the teaching and learning process, we were able to expand our distance learning programs to offer that virtual or remote learning, especially when we were in the initial stages of this pandemic. So again, a great support for our distance learning, virtual learning, remote programs. In addition, all of our schools and our IU and our CTCs, we were able to increase our hardware and software availabilities for our students, and whether that would come into devices or iPads, equipment that students needed to go back and forth between whether it was in-person or remote learning. In addition, all of the software programs so that we didn't have to charge families for those tools to be successful in a non-traditional learning environment. And then the protective measures that we really spent our focus within the grant program was around facility security, increased PPE, all of the related protective equipment needed to do in-person instruction students. We had disinfectant costs that we had to cover, so that was another piece. And all of the materials and equipment just to keep our students and staff members safe as they were on site and in our buildings across Berks County. One of the great tools, and when we think about the silver lining, how things come out, one of the tools that many of our districts and our IU we've purchased is the software program called DocuSign. So now that all of our documents and contracts are done electronically, that they go through a confidential private system. And that system and that software program has really made things much more efficient for us, but also less person-to-person interaction. So it really was a win-win when we thought about how these CARES grant dollars were going to be utilized across the education sector. On just a side note, I also do want to extend my appreciation to Pam Shupp and Stephanie Weaver. They were so responsive. I know there were so many volunteers that helped with the program. But again, on behalf of the 18 superintendents, the CTCs, and the IU, we want to say thank you for your continued support as we navigate ahead. These funds will continue to reap great benefits for the 70,000 plus students here in Berks County.
Thank you, Dr. Hackman. Thank you to my presenters this afternoon. Before I turn this over to Commissioner Rivera, I just wanted to mention that the commissioners saw fit to also provide substantial money to the library system for ebooks. We had an original proposal of $50,000. We were glad to give that towards ebooks, but our library director, Amy Resch, said, boy, I guess I should ask for a little bit more because these things are just exploding, thousands and thousands. And we came back and said, we'll add another $50,000 to that. So again, that's a whole continuum of education out there, nights and weekends when kids are still excited about learning and being able to get these ebooks out into the community. And the Council on Chemical Abuse, trying to keep focus on substance use disorders. This board saw fit through county money to provide about $22,000 for various billboards and direct mail pieces to the community, connecting them with services if any of them are suffering from substance use disorder or knows a loved one that is. So again, there's so many things going on in this community. It makes me proud to be here as a commissioner. And I know we're going to get through this together. And because I've learned a lot of, I've been touched by a lot of people in the last 9 months. So thank you to everybody who has helped. Much appreciated. Commissioner Rivera, turning it over to you.
Yes, thank you very much, Commissioner Barnhart. And also thank you to the presenters who just spoke, and thank you for all the work that you continue to do in the nonprofit field, in the health field, in the education field, the municipalities and authorities. It's been a difficult year for everyone, and thank you for keeping up doing what you've been doing. I know a lot of things that have had to change, but still you're there and you're carrying out the work that needs to be carried out so that our community and our county can continue to move forward. So thank you very much. Right now, I'd like to speak a little bit about the small business, the New Start Small Business Grant. I want to thank all the partners who helped make this process possible. Although it's been quite a while in having this come together, it's been a time-consuming process. It's very gratifying to be able to see the small businesses that are so relevant to our local communities and economies get the funding that they need to be able to remain open or to reopen and make the necessary changes to, one, keep their clients and employees safe during the pandemic, and two, to make the necessary changes to their business to make sure that their business is relevant in this time of ever-changing consumer buying habits. And this wasn't only accomplished through the funding, but also through education and a buy local campaign that was introduced through Rebuild Berks, which is an initiative in partnership with the Greater Reading Chamber Alliance. And in a few minutes, I'm going to introduce Deb Millman, who's going to talk a little bit about the Rebuild Berks initiative and how that has helped our small businesses in Berks County grow and sustain themselves. The Small Business New Start Grant Program provided grants ranging from $10,000 to $15,000 to $50,000 to local small business owners, and it was based on their annual income level. Initially, the program was designed to fund up to $6 million in grants. But once the application started to come in and we saw the amount of need that was out there, it was even greater than what we had thought. We were able to double that amount to fund all the eligible business that applied for the program. So all those that were eligible that had applied will be funded. So I'm happy to say that we're at a point now where the money has started going out. There's $3.9 million that has already been going out. We're looking at a total of about a little over $11.4 million in funding. And we're looking at supporting over 450 businesses. So that's really great. Like I said, these small businesses are key to the local economy and vitality of the communities that they're located in. And although it's not a part of the CARES Act money, there was another grant program, which is the Restart Grant, which also helped our small businesses. And thanks to the Berks County Redevelopment Authority and Neighborhood Housing Services, we were also able to help 27 businesses with over $496,000 in funding. So as you can see, there's a lot of money that was put into the businesses, understanding that the businesses are key to our economy. For the New Start Grant Program, we partnered with Community First Fund to take the applications, to process the applications, and to do the funding as well. And Community First Fund handled all the process in this program, just as Neighborhood Housing Services did with the Restart Grant. Because as Commissioner Linebaugh said earlier, we wanted to keep this process non-political. It wasn't a matter of who knew who or who did what for whom. We didn't want that. We wanted every business, every organization to have the same opportunity to be able to get the money that they needed to be able to continue moving forward. So the commissioners did not want to make the decisions as to who got any grant money and who did not. So again, thank you to all of the partners who gave up their time to be able to make this possible. I have some guests here with me today. First of all, I have Dan Bencourt, who's the president and CEO of Community First Fund, as well as Deb Millman, who's the vice president of development for the Greater Reading Chamber Alliance. And then we also have 3 local business owners who received grants, and we're asking them to speak about the challenges that they faced, how the industry faced, and how the grant money is helping them now and moving into the second wave of COVID, which is coming or has started now that the winter has arrived. So let me start with Dan. Dan, welcome.
Thank you, Commissioner Rivera, and also Commissioner Barnhart and Linebaugh for your vision to support small businesses in Berks County. We all know that many small businesses did not get money through PPP or other funding sources, and what you have allowed us to do is to help small mom and pop businesses throughout the entire county. Community First Fund has a history of helping small businesses. We, in fact, were able to provide other emergency funds early in the pandemic. You may recall there was a fund in Reading City. You may recall there was the fund that you talked about with NHS there, Mike. But also we started a fund with the state CARES Act money, and then lo and behold, by the way, the state CARES Act money was only going to provide essentially $2 or $3 million of support, but we all assumed that there would be a bigger need, and so we worked with the 3 commissioners to open up a new application process specifically for Berks County businesses that had lost money in the pandemic. And you're right, Commissioner Rivera. The requests were far exceeded than what we ever expected. We got over $12 million in requests. And while the commissioners initially committed $6 million, as you said, once we saw that need, the commissioners quickly stepped up and doubled their commitment to these small businesses. Something remarkable. Michael, I remember back in the summer, we had a town hall meeting and you heard from the restaurant owners that couldn't meet the state program because their sales were over $1 million, and you and the commissioners increased the sales to $3 million because you wanted to make sure that we included restaurants among others. And so essentially what you have done is we're going to be able to finance almost 1-for-1 or almost 100% of the business that have applied here in this program, which is very remarkable. I don't know of any other county commissioners that have stepped up at this level in the entire Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. So kudos to the 3 of you for using very limited dollars. $38 million sounds like a lot of money, but when you devote $12 million of that to one effort to help small businesses, because we know that that's the backbone of the county, that's the future of the county in terms of its budget, and that's where people, of course, have jobs, and more importantly, these businesses, that once it's easier to save a business than to start a business. And so that's what essentially you have done. You have saved businesses in Berks County. And what was the role that you asked us to do? Just real quickly here. You asked us to use our experience that we learned from the city and the state program and apply it here. We worked with you, Michael, and the committee, including Pam, Shoop, and others, to come up with the priorities. And those priorities focus on the most vulnerable businesses in the county. So we prioritize low to moderate income communities. We prioritize low to moderate income borrowers, and we prioritize businesses that had lost the most money. We also prioritize industries that were hit the hardest, like restaurants, tourism, retail, among others. So I'm proud to say that we did receive over $12 million. As you said, Michael, half of that money is already out. We expect to have the other $6 million out within the next 2 weeks. And you're right, commissioners, this was a blind process. Even when we reviewed it in our committee, Michael, you know that we only had random numbers. We never saw the name of the business. We ranked them, but in the end, we were able to fund because you increased the funding to all eligible businesses, essentially. So I can't thank you enough on behalf of the citizens of the county. I will tell you that real quickly, some of the results of this funding are remarkable. 40% of these dollars are going to go to businesses owned by people of color. That's Asian, African American, Latino, and the other 60% will go to obviously white business owners. This is a very diverse county, and you made this program work for all business owners in this county, and you should be commended for that. No one had to tell you to do the right thing. This is again remarkable. You dealt with the pain in Berks County, but because of the pandemic, you dealt with the economic pain. You're going to be able to make this money will never make business owners whole. This is only helping business owners, for partial of their loss. We know that from the applications that people have experienced 3 times the amount of loss than they were eligible for. So someone that was eligible for a $30,000 grant told us that they had a $90,000 loss. What would have happened if we wouldn't have helped them, if you wouldn't have helped them and stepped up with this money? So I want to thank the county staff. I want to thank the Chamber of Commerce who helped throughout this entire process, the county marketing team, Pam Shoup's team. I want to thank the Community First Fund staff, of course, Lucy Cortez and Alba and John and Commissioner Rivera. I know that you were up day and night looking at these business owners, helping us let them know that they were eligible, making sure that that if they didn't answer that email or whatever requests of documents we have, that you were personally involved with this. I can't say enough for what you did in this program and the way you work with the 2 other commissioners to make this thing happen. So again, on behalf of Community First Fund and the residents of the county and the business owners, the work that you did here, the 3 of you, is nothing short of remarkable. So again, thank you very much.
Thank you, Dan, and thank you, like I said, for all the help that Community First Fund has done in this program. Like you said, you did it for the city, for the state. You've had experience, your guidance as well, based on the many years that Community First Fund has working with small businesses, not only in Berks County and Lancaster County, but in different counties here in Eastern Pennsylvania. So thank you for all your help and for all your guidance. We're looking forward to these businesses being able to continue to grow and make it through COVID into the next year, and after that continuing to grow. And to be able to do that, like I said, it's not only because of the funding that's available, but also because of education. What should I change in my business? How can I do things differently? It's also due in part to a buy local campaign, because we have to understand that right now, you need something, you go online and you order it, from a large retailer, from another place. Well, maybe you can do the same thing and order it online, but from one of the local businesses, or you can go to one of the local businesses and buy what you need there now for the holidays. So that buy local, that's important as well. And to talk a little bit about the Rebuild Berks program, which encompasses those 2 areas as well, I'd like to introduce Deb Millman, who's the Vice President of Development for the Greater Reading Chamber Alliance. Deb, welcome.
Thank you, Commissioner Rivera. Thank you for having me this afternoon. So since July, the Greater Reading Chamber Alliance has partnered with the county and Strunk Media in the overall marketing efforts of Rebuild Berks. And in particular, on the Berks County Small Business New Start program, there was a robust media schedule that started when the program launched and continued until the applications were closed. Publication on the Rebuild Berks website, through targeted emails, through social media posts, and paid social ads were all part of the campaign. We are happy that we were able to assist with the success of the program. I think hearing from Dan Betancourt on all of the applications that were received and the eligible businesses that will all receive funding points to the tremendous success of the program. So that's what I was going to comment on today, Commissioner Rivera, was the New Start program, and be happy to answer any other questions about the overall Rebuild Berks program.
Yes, thank you, Deb. And like I said, the education that the Chamber has provided has been essential, the Buy Local campaign as well. And I know the Chamber was also essential in getting the word out to the small businesses, asking them to apply for the grant if they needed help. So thank you very much for all of your assistance throughout this program.
Thank you.
We also have 3 business owners here with us. And they're business owners from industries that have been that were hit especially hard. We have a restaurant owner, we have a fitness location owner, and also a barbershop owner as well. And they're here to talk to us about how their business was affected, how their industry was affected, and how the grant will help them, especially now as we head into the winter. So I'd like to introduce first Franklin Fleming, who is the owner of Franklin's Breakfast, Burgers, and Shakes here in the city of Reading. And I believe Franklin is only about 2-3 blocks away here from the services center. So Franklin, welcome. Franklin.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. Yeah, I feel honored. I feel a pleasure to be in front of this audience. I don't know how far it's going to go, but I want to thank the Berks. I want to thank the Community First Fund for hard work and dedication. I want to thank the CARE Act, who made it possible for me to be here. I feel like I'm an ant on an elephant back. I don't know how I got submitted, my papers were submitted to be part of this grand finale. But as again, I feel honored. We opened up this shop in November of last year. So November of this year was actually our first year anniversary. We tried to celebrate. We celebrate by working very hard and continue providing the service that we know well how best to do. I remember last year on December the 12th, we had an article in the newspaper, and there was a nice write-up by the editor. And right after that, we had a full house. I had no room in the inn to sit anybody. And then a few months later, all my chairs was turned upside down. And so I was wondering, well, what can we do? My wife and I was, our backs against the wall, and we're trying to figure out, we just invested all this money into this business. What can we do? So we had to revisit our plan, and by revisiting our plan, we found out that we should put all our menus, according to what the state has recommended for continued service, put all our menus online and make a provision and make it very easy and ED approved for anyone to order and pay for it online and pick it up at curbside or come into the front and pick it up at a cashier's desk. I am a great fan of people, and that's the reason why I picked this business in this part of the town. I also wanted to be the change that everyone was asking about in the city of Reading. So I live here. I invest my monies here. I invest my life here. I invest my time. And so when we made the changes in our plan, we found out that there was some success. However, I had to depart with a couple of my employees. I kept a couple of them who was with me thin and thick. I continued to provide the service that I know best how to do, and that is taking care of the people. If one would know who I am, I have lived in this town for the past 31 years, and my background is hotel restaurant management. People who knows me knows I'm all for the people. So when I heard that as an ant on an elephant bag that I am selected to be part of this program, I was very excited. So is my wife, and they said, well, this would give us an opportunity to move the ball forward because it was a struggle. It was a real struggle. But while the struggle was on, we learned a lot of things about businesses and how to stay afloat, keep your neck above waters. And so we bite the bullet. I washed the dishes, I mopped the floors, I cleaned the bathroom, and this is a one-man team. This was one person. So, when we get to the stage and we found out that somebody is looking out, it put a lot of pride in the work that we put into the city and in our business and trying to employ small business people from the surrounding area. My business is very simple. It was designed as comfort food, so you can come here and get a milkshake and a burger. Mr. Rivera, I heard you said Franklin breakfast, burgers, and shakes. And I was watching everybody's faces to see who is getting hungry already, because that's what we do. That's what we do. And so I'm a little bit disappointed I haven't seen much of your faces around, but I'm happy to see it now on television. So now that you know where we are, there is absolutely no reason not to show up and enjoy one of Franklin's breakfast burgers and shakes. Gentlemen and lady, we want to thank you. And we're looking forward to continued business in the city of Reading.
Yes, Franklin, thank you very much. I'm glad to hear that you're able to move forward thanks to this grant. I wish you the best of luck, and I will be there at Franklin's. I can't guarantee that I'll have a shake, but I will have a burger. I'm trying to watch my line now that the holidays are coming up. So
thank you.
Continued success to you, Franklin.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Next on the list, we have Jonathan Escueta from City Cuts Barbershop in Kutztown. So now we're going from Reading to the Kutztown area. Jonathan, welcome, and I'll pass it over to you now. Jonathan, are you there?
He might be muted.
Jonathan, try #6. We can't hear you. Try #6 to see if that will unmute you.
Hello?
Oh, there you are.
All right. Thank you very much for the opportunity to be able to speak up. I would like to thank Community First Fund, Berks County, the commissioners, and just the overall community from Berks County that the love and support that we received. This grant tremendously helped us to sustain the business. Our business has been down quite a lot, about 50%. It's very hard and to manage our day-to-day just because of a lot of cleaning and a lot of monitoring of as far as who walks in our door. We are personal services, so it's difficult to keep everybody uplifted throughout this time, especially our barbers. And we are a community-based barbershop, so we try to do a lot for the community as far as back-to-school programs, free haircuts. We have a Books by Kids program in our barbershop where we pay kids $3, and of course that's been kind of like at a halt. We won't say no to that, but it's still not as easy as it once were due to COVID, well, with the mask restrictions and stuff like that. And the library that we have in our shop they aren't able to just pick out books. So it's been a tough situation, but I think this grant will definitely help us to sustain through this second wave and the possibility of another shutdown. So like I said, thank you very much for the opportunity again, and this very much helps.
John, and in your industry, you were shut down for how many months without not even being able to take people by appointments? How long was it?
We were shut down for about 25 weeks.
Wow. So, quite a long period of time where you still had your rent, your insurance, and everything, all your other overhead to pay as well, even though you couldn't see a single client, right?
Correct. It was very stressful at those moments in time, and we weren't know when we were going to open or how we were going to open and what are the protocols once we opened.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and even now, like you said, all the extra cleaning, you can have less people in the business, so it still hard for you to be able to get back to what your normal business was before COVID due to all the extra care that you need to take as well.
Yes, it's very difficult to just manage that from like day to day. We're just glad people are still supporting us throughout the community, and hopefully 2021 will turn things around.
Definitely. So thank you very much, John, for being here. I wish you the best as well. And thank you, just as Franklin, for all you do for your community up there in Kutztown.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Okay, best wishes. All right, and third we have Lynn Kreider from LJ's Fitness in Wilmersdorf. So we're going to the other side of the county now. I do have to say I owe a visit to LJ's. I know Commissioner Leinbach said that he had gone, but now he needs to go to use the equipment. I actually was going to go with Commissioner Leinbach, but I was tested positive for COVID, so I was not able to go. So I still owe Lynn a visit there in LJ's Fitness in Wilmersdorf. So we'll set something up, Linda, so I can go visit you there.
That sounds great. And I've known Commissioner Barnhart for quite a long time, and we appreciate your investment in our small businesses. It was beyond earth-shattering when we got the message that we had to close our doors on March 16th. I mean, it was just so surreal for us. We were closed until the end of June. And I mean, what do you do when you're used to having housefuls of people? I mean, we were at LJ's celebrating our year number 30. So different from Franklin, who was brand new. I mean, we've been a staple in the Wilmersdorf, Western Berks County community for a long time. We had just completed in November a 900 square foot expansion, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it allowed us to reallocate a lot of space within our club. We added a smoothie bar, which Commissioner Leinbach got to test out when he was there. We did a lot of things and just really expected this banner 2020 vision to unfold. And January and February and even the first part of March was really looking terrific for the fitness business and for us as, you know, LJ's Fitness. And then the doors were closed, and it's so uncertain. I mean, in the three businesses, us as well as a restaurant and a barber shop, it's everything feels so out of control. So we joined quickly with the Pennsylvania Fitness Alliance. I've been appointed to the board for the Pennsylvania Fitness Alliance, and we're doing what we can as an industry to try and just change the persona of what fitness looks like in the eyes of some folks out there. They're very fearful about coming into a fitness club. Our new mandates require masks to be worn by all of our members and our staff while they're exercising, which I can tell you without a doubt is very challenging. You have to kind of dial down your intensity level for sure. But we are so appreciative and grateful for the grant that we received. It was heartwarming that we felt appreciated and considered, that people valued our business to give us a grant of this value. What we had to do in our business is we invested in an electrostatic sprayer. We cleaned all of the equipment throughout the day, invested in a, I want to get the terminology right. It is a COVID deterrent. It doesn't prevent it, but it really is, it's a great product that we use on all of our equipment. It allowed us to hire an additional person to help us clean, because that was happening more often than not. Our club is extremely clean anyway, but it just, we were closing down for a couple hours in the afternoon and just canvassing the whole place, trying to get everything ready for the next few folks that would come in the door. We're still at 50% capacity. We're seeing some new people. We are, however, unfortunately, with this new uprising in cases, seeing a lot of cancellations and people freezing their memberships. So that's less money through our door. So the grant's going to help sustain us. We invested in UVC lighting in the heaviest accessible places in our club, in our free weight space, in our cardio space. So that's allowed us to make those kind of upgrades. The additional wipes that we go through and locations for disinfectant throughout the club also cost a lot of money, just that continuous usage by our membership. It's just something I'm very grateful for, that well, you know, as Franklin, the guy that owns the restaurant, mentioned, I mean, it was going to be the Lynn and Tim show. My husband and I were going to be working open to close if we didn't have funds to bring back and maintain our payroll. And I'm very pleased to let you know that thanks to you guys, we are able to bring all of our employees back to work. All of our instructors are teaching classes now, obviously limited capacity, but we're very blessed and very grateful for what Berks County was able to do for us.
Lynn, thank you very much, and it's great to hear all the measures that you're taking to be able to remain open and at the same time keep your staff and your clients safe as well, because that's extremely important, that people feel confident and comfortable going out and going to businesses where they know that they're going to be protected from not getting sick. That's key to helping our economy to continue to grow and making sure that people feel safe, again, going out there to restaurants, to get their haircut, to going to the fitness centers. So thank you, Lynn, very much. I look forward to meeting you personally sometime in the near future.
Yes, and me too. And it goes without saying, fitness, and the healthier you are, the more capable you are at combating a lot of different kinds of illnesses, including COVID-19.
That is definitely true, definitely. All right. Thank you very much. Again, thank you to all of the guests here today. And now I would like to introduce Jay Worrell. Jay is the president of Helping Harvest. And Jay has been a great partner here in helping the county meet the food insecurities that we have. So, Jay?
Hello, everyone. Thanks for having me today. I just have a little bit of information to share with everybody about sort of the scale of the change in food insecurity in Berks County right now. We actually set a record of food distribution the week before Thanksgiving. So the full week before Thanksgiving this year, we provided the community 380,000 pounds of food. By comparison, that same week in 2019, the week before Thanksgiving in 2019, we distributed 153,000 pounds of food. That means this year we provided 2.5 times as much food in that week as we did in the year before. We're not up 2.5 times every week, but we are up maybe 85% year over year over last year. I'm quite proud to tell you, actually, just yesterday, we surpassed 10 million pounds of food distributed in our community in 2020. Again, by comparison, last year, 2019, for the full 12 months, we distributed 6.5 million pounds of food. So you can see that since March, the need for food in our community is just exponentially higher than it was before. And so, there's many ways that has affected our bottom line, sort of. So, of course, we get food from USDA programs, and we get food donated to us from retail streams, mostly through, sorry, my computer's doing funny things, mostly through donations from distribution centers like Walmart, Wegmans. We get a lot of donations from Redner's, Giant, Weiss. Now, we're getting a little bit less donations through the retail stream than we normally do because we're consuming more food from grocery stores than we do typically. We're getting a little bit more food donated to us through the USDA programs than we normally do, but we're not getting twice as much food donated to us through those programs as we had before. And so we're buying food at scales that we never have before. We're purchasing close to $500,000 worth of food every month. And for 2020, for the entire 12 months of 2020, our budget for food purchases was $384,000. We've purchased more than $3 million worth of food this year so far, and we're continuing to purchase. The other ways that it's affected us, we have, of course, increased staffing costs to move so much more food than we did normally. We've had to secure additional trucks so that we can get the food where it needs to go. And we have temporary workers who are packing food into boxes for us. Normally, we take foods to food pantries, we spread it out in their social areas, and people come in and select the items that they want. Obviously, that's not a safe way to distribute food now. So what we're doing primarily is we're pre-packing boxed items of food here in our warehouse, and we're giving it to people, usually by putting it in the trunk of their car so that there's as little social contact as possible. Of course, all the additional trucks and all those additional workers and the equipment that those workers need to be effective all costs a fair amount of money. And then finally, one decision that we made very early on in the pandemic, I believe it was the week of March 18th, we decided in normal times, we get a little bit of money from each of the 320 pantries that we supply. They pay what we call a shared maintenance fee. It might average out to be less than 10 cents a pound for food, but it's still something. we decided that we did not want our partners, many of whom are churches in low-income communities. Pastor Mary Wolf, who you heard earlier, is one of those, Hope Lutheran Church on Front Windsor, or I'm sorry, Front Greenwich. We didn't want their finances to limit the number of people that they could help right now. So we waived all of our shared maintenance fees from the very beginning of this pandemic, and we have not charged those partners anything since. So that also, while it's not a lot of money for each church in the aggregate, it's about $45,000 a month in revenue that we gave up. And so again, I'll be maybe the 20th person on this call to recognize the work of Pam Shupp. She's amazing to work with, and she really got in touch with us right away and helped push us through the process. Commissioner Barnhart has been in touch with me regularly throughout this pandemic. I believe that Commissioner Lineback and Commissioner Rivera sort of asked Kevin to be the point person for food insecurity, but Helping Harvest knows how lucky we are to have 3 commissioners like you gentlemen who get food insecurity. And you can rest well tonight knowing that your support for Helping Harvest has helped many, many churches, nonprofit organizations, and most of all, hungry families in Berks County. So thank you very much. Am I supposed to call the next person up?
No,
Commissioner Lineback.
Okay. I will jump on. I thought Commissioner Rivera was going to take over, but this is live. I would say television, but it's not really television anymore. But it's live. Santander Arena. It's interesting. The last 3 businesses that we heard from represent industries that were shut down for a significant period of time. At least restaurants indoor were shut down right away on March 16th. And it impacted those entities in a very significant way. But there are operations that are still shut down, that have not been open since March 16th. Santander Arena is one of those operations. And early on, it became very apparent in discussions with Mike Ellerman and the leadership team at Santander that they didn't fit any particular category because they weren't able to keep employees on to do almost nothing. They did have some needs. I can tell you when we talked to them, and I'm looking at my colleagues here, I think it might have been April. They were hoping that by December, they'd be able to restart. It was their hope that very possibly the Royals hockey season would be able to restart. And I say that to remind us, we didn't know what was going to happen next. And when we looked at this in April, if somebody had told us in April, yes, things will get better over the course of the summer, but then they're going to get really tough again as you get into the fall flu season and into winter. I'm sure there's a lot of people who said, please don't tell me that. With Santander, we were able to reach out and help them. And I don't have the exact number. Do you remember the number, Commissioner Barnhart, that we ended up authorizing?
$508,000.
Sorry.
Yeah, because
yeah,
508. Yeah, originally we asked them to give us a list of a number of different line items, and I know that totaled to 433. But I was pretty sure we put some additional money on the table. So they're 508,000. And at this juncture, they don't know when they are going to open. The Royals hockey season for ECHL has been canceled. And there are other entities in our community like this. We were on a call Tuesday with the Commissioner's Operations meeting, and we were talking to some of the Main Street programs. And Dina Kirshner from Hamburg noted our town foundation owns the Hamburg Strand, a movie theater. They've been closed since March 16th and don't know when they're going to reopen. So when we look at the impacts, there's no doubt that the impact on small businesses in the broadest sense is the most serious impact that we have. There are businesses that unfortunately have already closed and do not intend to reopen solely because of what's happened economically with COVID. But the Santander Arena is a critical piece of our community. It's important that we not just look at the other small businesses, that we focus some attention on the Santander. We believe, based on our communication with them, that this help is a critical piece in getting them through this year. So I know that Mike, the Convention Center Authority members very much appreciate the support of the county, and the county looking at ways that we were able to help that were a little bit outside the normal parameters when we looked at other small businesses, nonprofits, et cetera, in our community. So I think the next item on the agenda are questions, and I've been watching the Q&A. I don't see anything on MS Teams Live. I'll check with our IS folks. Any comments or questions on YouTube or Facebook? And while they're looking at that, are any questions or comments that my colleagues would like to post to our guests? I do have one comment, Commissioner Rivera. Actually, Lynn is very glad, as I am glad, that you didn't come with us and then announce the next day that you were COVID positive, because the story might have been a little bit different. So, but the smoothie at the smoothie bar, I think it was raspberry, if I remember.
Very slam.
There you go. It was great.
I'm glad my colleagues didn't call me out, because I'm the one that lives closer than either of the two of them.
I didn't call you out, Kevin.
No, Lynn and I connected on LinkedIn. We've been friends on LinkedIn, and she reached out to me early on and said, what is going on? I actually reached out to the governor's office on her behalf. Her industry, and I'm sure this is true with many of the specific industries, actively work to put together approved CDC plans for operations. I know I talked to a number of the people in restaurants, but the fitness centers from across the United States early on in this crisis had detailed written specifications on how to safely operate health and fitness centers. And I will say this, I believe from day one, that was the right answer, that we need government to give the best information possible on what is happening with the disease and what businesses or families or churches should be doing to address mitigation, and then let those businesses and industries apply that as it fits to those particular industries. Overall, and it's not 100%, but overall, our businesses have done a fantastic job applying common sense and safety protocols. I'm not going to say I will say what restaurant. My wife and I went to Willoughby's last night on Park, and I will tell you again, they did everything by the book that keeps their staff safe and it kept my wife and I went out together safe. And I just want to commend our businesses. Franklin, you talked about the aspect of what it takes to survive. And I appreciate your down-to-earth explanation. When it's your business, you do what you have to do, and you do it all. You're the janitor, you're the cook, you're taking care of the books, everything. And a lot of folks that aren't small business people don't understand what is involved in running a small business. In fact, I know some people think, hey, we got a lot of money, that people are wealthy. If you have a business, you're wealthy. No, if you have a small business especially, you're courageous. That's what you are. You're courageous people. And especially in this environment, I'm sure for many people, it would have been easier and maybe financially safer to just shut down early in the whole thing and go do something else, but you didn't. And I want to compliment you, along with the barbershop in Kutztown, hanging in there, and hopefully we will all get through this together. Other comments, my colleagues, or I know Pam, you haven't, Pam Shupp hasn't said anything, and she has been very involved in this program. Pam, anything you want to add?
Commissioner, I'd just like to recognize the team here at the county, the folks in the controller's office, the budget office, and the purchasing departments who have spent countless hours trying to figure out how we get federal funds out the door as quickly, as efficiently as possible to get not only to our organizations, but to our businesses. So the team here has been very committed. They've worked very hard, and they're still working to make sure that the funds get where they are most needed. And none of us could do this unless we were part of a team. So working with the internal county team, with the Greater Reading Chamber Alliance, with Community First Funds, bringing partners to the table is what's really allowing us to make this program effective. And again, I want to recognize the businesses. We know that we need to buy local, shop local, connect local, and support you. So we're going to continue to do that, and we're looking forward to continuing to support you through 2021 with our own services. So thank you.
We have a comment from our county controller, Sandy Graffius.
Thank you so much for recognizing the controller and budget and purchasing. With everybody working remotely, it's really been a challenge, and you guys have been most helpful getting the information to us, and we're doing our best to get the checks back out the door.
So, Dan Benacourt, you apparently have a fan, Manny, and I'm going to say the last name wrong, Carasaquillo, says Daniel Benacourt is the man. So
Thank you for that. I know he's an HVAC entrepreneur, so good for Manny. Thank you. Really, he should be thanking the commissioners and Pam. Again, I don't just say these words. You guys, everyone should realize, these entrepreneurs in the county should realize the three of you are the heroes, and your staff, because you're essentially providing 100% support of requests. Again, their losses are bigger. This is only maintaining these business owners. No one's going to expand and go out and with that expansion. But if you can provide this small bridge for them to survive, that's what I think you've heard from these three entrepreneurs, and it's very heartfelt. You heard it directly from them, and I know you've been hearing it from them since March. You get around the community, no one hears it more than you. But I think every once in a while, we as a community should let you know and thank you for what you've done as elected officials. I know that you don't get thanked that often. I was an elected official of a school board years ago and know how that feels, but thank you once again on behalf of these entrepreneurs. You made it possible for them to continue their business.
And Dan, we absolutely appreciate that, but knowing people that are small business people like this, you've got the tough work. You're there day in, day out, trying to figure out how you're going to make ends meet. And none of us, even now, none of us know the future. And we just have to make, I go back to a quote from Teddy Roosevelt. Some people that know me probably are tired of hearing it, but I love it. He said, do what you can with what you have where you are. And that's what you're doing. You're saying, I'm going to do the best I can with what I have where I am. And that's what makes this community such an amazing place to live. And it's another great reason you should shop and buy local, because you get to meet the people that make up our community. And it is not, if you met one, you met one. We're all very, very different in our backgrounds, our experience, and the work that we do. So let's make a real commitment to do everything we can to buy local, keep our dollars local, support our neighbors. Any closing comments from my colleagues before we wrap up our program?
I think it was extremely well done today. Thank you to everyone who took their time and energy to be here today. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you everyone for being here. Although it's a difficult time for all of us, it's also a time for growing, a time for learning. We will get through this, and the business owners will come out better business owners. The administrators will come out better administrators. And in the end, we're going to look back and we're going to remember what we're going through. And we're going to say, you know what? It was a difficult time, but I grew as a person, I grew as a business owner, and I'm going to use that to move forward. So again, thank you to all of you.
Well, I want to thank our viewers for joining us, whether you're watching live or you're able to pick up a recording of this on Facebook or YouTube. Thank you for tuning in, and be sure to tune in again for our next program. We haven't announced it yet, but we set aside Wednesdays at 3:30 p.m. for the Berks County Weekly Commissioners Update. Thank you and goodbye.
The sign is on.